It is Monday, January 6th, 2025. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan along for the ride as well. Hope everybody had a glorious sporting weekend. Somebody let me know in the comments section last week that I said it was 2024 when it was actually 2025. Won't be the last time I make that mistake. Always takes me a while to get that runway going on the calendar flip, Plouffe. I don't know about you.
Usually I can say it, but when I'm like writing a check or something like that to write it out, I'll still put 2024. That's kind of where I'm at with all that, Chris Rosie.
Got it. We start off this day with a true tip of the cap to one of our originals on the Chris Rose rotation, Stephen and Lydia Brault. They welcomed in little Brady Lou to the world. That is a young lady. Brady, I don't think I've heard that name. Obviously, I have a son named Brady, but I kind of dig it. And Plouffe, you've had two kids. You've seen a lot of babies. Not all of them look that good first week out.
No, people who think that all babies are cute haven't had babies. Like, there's a lot of ugliness in babies. Brady Lou, beautiful little baby girl right there. And she looks really comfortable. Like, I envy Brady Lou right now. I want to be wrapped up in some blankets like that.
She has two wonderfully talented parents on top of everything else. You have a John Boy Media family that's looking over you as well.
Yeah.
So welcome to the big old party. We cannot wait to meet you in person. Hopefully that happens sometime around spring training out in Arizona. All right, we've had a little bit of movement since we last spoke. I'm wearing an Orioles cap today because they have added a veteran starter to the rotation. Charlie Morton gets another year and $15 million. How excited should Baltimore fans be about this move?
I think you should be excited about it. You know, if everyone's waiting for a Corbin Burns replacement, like it's probably not going to happen there. But how often do I talk about veteran guys coming in and helping out a lineup? Charlie Morton can do that with this rotation, who has some young guys in it. You're going to get some innings out of him. There's no doubt about it. He's going to put up, around a 3.8 to 4.1. I'd venture out to say, but between him and Sugano, like you sign some depth there. You have a guy that you really believe in Grayson Rodriguez. You have some auxiliary pieces down there at the bottom of the rotation. Again, we're not getting a replacement for Corbin Burns. It's very hard to do that. There's not many people that can replace him, but I think we've been pretty harsh on the Orioles throughout the offseason. I actually think they've done a decent job of replacing the guys that have left. They have made a bigger splash. Could they have went out and got a Garrett Crochet? Sure. But I still think with the moves that they've made, they're still in play for another move. I don't know what that's going to be or when it's going to be. But how can you not like Charlie Morton in your rotation? Again, as long as you don't think about it as, hey, this guy's replacing Corbin Burns, you just think this is an add to our team, you have to be pretty excited about it.
If he's a part of the story and not the final chapter, I love it. And I'm going to push back on you a little bit about the Orioles. They need to do something. They need to go trade for Dylan Cease. Like, if that's the guy that you want, who's headed in the last year before free agency, like, he's perfect to me.
Why would the Padres trade that guy, though? I don't understand why he keeps coming up. Why would they trade him?
Because I think that's what they're into a little bit with A.J. Preller. I think they're into bringing
Get out of that. Stop being into that.
Okay, but it almost worked for him last year. You heard the Dodger players. They said they were most fearful of the Padres of all the teams that were lining up on the runway to try and dismantle their run to the World Series.
Sure, but they added depth to their pitching, not subtracted. They got rid of Juan Soto, added depth to their pitching.
Yes.
And I think if you get rid of Dylan Cease, it's a different looking ball club.
I agree. But once again, and this isn't a Padres discussion, but I think you took us on an interesting tangent. If they get rid of Dylan Cease a year before free agency, but then they turn around and use some of the prospects that they get or younger players they get from Baltimore, and they trade somebody else for a guy who's maybe got 3 years of service time, then that's kind of the way that A.J. Preller might be operating in business. Even if that pitcher is 85% of Dylan Cease at this point, if you have him for 3 years instead of just one, that is a thought process, and I'm not gonna hate it. That's what I think might happen. So the Charlie Morton signing, I love your point about that. There's guys that can be kind of the Obi-Wan Kenobi, if you will, for the hitters meetings. Well, this guy does the same thing for pitching. He's available at age 41 or whatever he is. all 4 years in Atlanta the second time around, he made at least 30 starts. He threw at least 163 innings. He still strikes out guys at this age. Now, were there some bumps and bruises along the way? Could he make every playoff start imaginable? No. But I think that he's a great guy to stick in the back end of your rotation. I like that move as long as it is paired with something else. Because if not, I'm going to be coming after Mike Elias. I've been screaming that he should have gotten Carlos Rodon 2 years ago when he was a free agent. I was screaming that they needed to keep adding. And certainly this offseason, they need to go get somebody that might not be on the level of Corbin Burns, but at least is in the neighborhood of Corbin Burns.
They got a lot of starting pitching right now. They do, and it's not.
How much is
they don't have the top. I don't think they have a top end ace. They don't. Most successful teams have at least one of them. We saw the Tigers have literally only one.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I agree. Would it be beneficial for the Orioles to go out there and trade for Dylan Cease? Yes, I understand that. I just think they've done a better job than we've given them credit for of filling those holes. It's Trevor Rogers, who, whatever. We'll see if they can change some things up with him. Sugano and Charlie Morton. That's good depth. And then now I really believe they're saying, hey, core guys in our lineup, it's up to you to take that next step or to be the guys that we think you can be. I think that's where they're at right now.
I'm going to make a prediction.
Okay.
Dylan Cease will be in Orioles spring training at some point.
Wow.
I think a deal gets done ahead of time. And I think that Kjerstad is probably the guy who's the centerpiece going back to San Diego.
Okay.
Kjerstad.
What about pitching? You just said they were going to get a pitcher that has 3 years of control. Then Orioles don't really have that to give up.
No. What I'm saying is it would be a separate deal. I think A.J. Preller gets paid by the transaction. So he brings in whatever young outfielder. I don't know if it's Colton Cowser or Kjerstad or somebody else. And young guys as well in the Cease deal who may or may not be ready to contribute for San Diego in the near future, but then turns around and flips and does something to go get a more veteran by spring training.
Do you know we're like 6 weeks?
Plenty of time. What else are these people doing?
What is anybody doing these days? I don't know.
We should take a field trip and just do hang out with an exec and see what they're doing.
What are you guys doing?
The second week of January. That'll be interesting. Very quickly, I just want to touch on this from Atlanta's standpoint. They now have lost 40% of their starting rotation via free agency. Max Fried went up to the Bronx, and now Charlie Morton's in the American League East as well. Is it a good enough strategy to just say, hey, listen, because they haven't done much this offseason. Like Brian De La Cruz is pretty much the only significant piece, I believe, that they've added in the offseason. Maybe Atlanta fans or somebody else that you're more excited about than I am, and that's fine. But for the most part, their strategy is, well, let's wait for our big guns to get healthy. Is that okay on both sides of the baseball to do, or do they need to kind of strike?
I think if you're talking about a Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, Ronaldo Lopez, 1, 2, 3, and then, whatever is at the back end. Schwellenbach going to be a guy. Yeah.
He was awesome.
I know. He's been great. The peripherals are interesting. Peter Morton loves this guy. Peter Moylan. Peter Morton's the guy that used to own the Hard Rock Hotel and Casinos. I used to clean his pool. That's why I said that. I think it's fine.
Hold on. Good tipper or not?
Oh man, I don't know. You have to ask my dad. I'd have to. He's the one that got all the Christmas gifts and stuff like that. I'm sure he did. Most of those guys in that area were good.
Okay, good. Yeah, you have to tip.
He had a pool that was grass went up right to the edge of the pool, so that was always annoying because the gardeners would come in, they'd mow the lawn, it would go all in the pool.
Oh yeah.
The constant battle between poolmen and gardeners it's hilarious.
I think they're in cahoots, to be honest with you.
Oh, you do? They're not. Trust me, they're not. I think if you really wanted to break down that situation, maybe that's for a different episode. Look, the lineup is still very much intact. It's a very potent lineup. You have that. You want to call it a four-headed monster? Go ahead. I think standing pat is okay. I mean, I don't think they need to go out and do anything except be healthy, get off to a strong start. Go check the roster out. It still looks really, really good.
Yeah, it does. I think I'm a little more concerned about Acuna and replacing him for however long that might take once again, I haven't seen anything that has a definitive date on it for him. With the Strider stuff, I keep reading with the brace surgery that they're hopeful that by May, but you never know. And remember, this is his second major arm surgery. He had one while he was in college too. But the Braves are somebody to keep an interesting eye on. There was news, we kind of out of New York-ish, if you will. Our buddy Jeff Passan from ESPN is reporting that the Yankees are sniffing around on three-time batting champion Luis Arraez, who is headed into his walk year. Does that seem like a good fit as a trade partner, Arraez to New York?
So I've heard Gavin Lux and I've heard Luis Arraez. Those are the two names that have been kind of like floating around for the Yankees second base situation. If you're talking specifically about Arraez, it's interesting because he's not a good defender. Like he just isn't. And could he get better? I don't know. I've always said that you can get better on defense if you just put the work in. So maybe he gets a little bit better. Maybe the pressure of playing in New York makes him work a little bit harder on his defense. I don't know. What I have in my mind is, if you put him at the top of the lineup, he's such a pesky at bat still. I know the on-base percentage went down. You see right there, 346. It was more like 380, 390 before that. If he focuses on that, and it's just like a really pesky at bat, making pitchers throw 5, 6, 7 pitches to him, fouling stuff off, and then all of a sudden they got to face Aaron Judge. I think that could be very, very beneficial for the Yankees. Is he the perfect Yankees leadoff hitter? Probably not. But I think it would, in my mind, it would like kind of be like a lot of fun. The juxtaposition of Luis Arraez and then Aaron Judge back to back is pretty fun, in my opinion. I'd rather have Lux if I'm a Yankee fan. But if Luis can get back to that on-base percentage up in the high 380s, then I think it'd be a welcome addition.
You just look at his numbers. So 3 straight batting titles. In 2023, it was insane. He had 354 and his OPS was 861. He had 43 extra base hits, which is okay. The defense would scare the bejesus out of me. You can't move him to third. He's not a third baseman. In fact, in limited time over there, his defensive metrics are horrific. I don't think he's a second baseman. San Diego moved him off of that quickly. I know you say, and you're the expert on this, so I will defer to you, but he doesn't move like a middle infielder, right? You know how your eyes, you can see, right?
Well, the range is never going to be there, but I feel like sometimes that's okay if the range isn't there. You're going to get dinged in, your outs above average and stuff like that. But really, I mean, gosh, you want your middle infielders to be able to go get it. But really, all a pitcher wants is someone, if the ball is hit to you, field that MFR and get the out.
I get it. It just feels like there would be so much focus on what he doesn't bring on that side of the baseball that if it starts to go wrong quickly, you can't hide him anywhere because you've got Stanton at DH. You got guys you have to get off their feet. You just brought in Goldschmidt to play first base. So you either have to keep him at second base and suck it up. Dude, you're telling me that if he makes a couple of errors or he can't get to baseballs, that the Yankees, that's not going to be the talk of every show in New York? Of course it will be.
I agree. I don't love the fit at second base. I
don't either.
Thinking about him leading off a game and having one of those at bats that we've seen him have for a long time. Then Judge coming up right behind him. I like that aspect of it. The defensive side, yeah, I mean, it's never going to be great. There's never going to be a right fit for him. Obviously, I mean, I've seen him play first base. Probably, I mean, he's not tall, but like maybe that is his best defensive position. He's not playing there this year. So I don't know.
Oh, boy. And
I don't know. It's interesting.
As our one-of-a-kind producer and Yankee superfan Dan Rourke just reminded us, part of the reason they moved off of Glaber was because he wasn't great at second base. And guess what? Glaber Torres is going to look like Robbie Alomar at second base if you catch a few innings of Luis Arraez there in the Bronx. I love what he means for an offense. Like, I think he's perfect in San Diego because you can hide him at DH and let the other guys who are paid $25 or $30 million a year go drive dudes in. And offensively, yes, he would make up for some of the void that is left by the on-base machine that is Juan Soto, who's now in Queens. I just don't see this as a great fit.
He's such a polarizing baseball
He is,
player. I
isn't
think a
he?
lot of people who just look at statistics say Luis Arraez is actually not, very valuable. But I think he does add something to a lineup that maybe isn't quantifiable. Just the peskiness
Yeah.
alone, and
Mhm.
I don't know.
Well, during the Yankees run in the late 90s, Chuck Knobloch, who, of course, started his career with the
It's a
Twins and won a
decent
title with them.
comparison right there. Yeah.
Knobloch, he eventually he didn't start out as a horrible defender at second, but he was pathetic. He was throwing the ball into the
He got the
stands left
yips.
and right,
Yeah.
but he was always a pain in the ass as far as an at bat went, and particularly in October. He would foul off pitch, foul off pitch, foul off pitch, and that's exactly what Arise does. So, yeah, that's going to pat myself on the back there.
I like that
Um,
comp. Yeah.
you did mention Gavin Lux. He could be on the move because of what the Dodgers did. They added another free agent. It is Hyeseong Kim from the KBO. He's a 25-year-old. He can play all over the infield. He's going to be a utility guy out there. So now he joins a shortstop second base combo that features these guys: Betts, Lux, Rojas, Chris Taylor, I guess, Edmund. There's only 2 spots there, and you're not gonna be nobody's playing DH. Sorry, that job's already taken. Is it possible the Dodgers have too many good players?
Okay. People got mad at me because I said on Talking Baseball, this logjam used to be called depth. I think that's the way the Dodgers are approaching this. Who cares? Like, yeah, we want as many good players as possible. We want as many versatile players as possible. We understand that injuries are part of the game, so give us the depth. Um, I I wouldn't be shocked if they ended up trading some guys from the current roster. I I, I would hate for them to move off Lux right now. Maybe they're thinking, hey, that second half he regained all his value, and we'll try to get something for him. We do have players that can play his position. But if I'm the Dodgers, what's the point, man? Like, we have everything we need. Let's keep all of this depth. So to answer your question, do they have too many players? I mean, do you say that about their pitching staff? Because they
No.
right now have too many starting pitchers, but we're excited about that because we understand the depth is key at that position. I think it's important throughout a lineup as well. I don't think they're got Hyeseong Kim to come in there and be an everyday player. I don't think they necessarily even care about really what he hits. Like, this is a guy that runs the bases and can really field the ball. So, there may be games where they have a few guys out of position and or they feel like they need some added defensive help, or maybe at the end of games he's a pinch runner than a defensive replacement. Like, they're just thinking, like, what else they're trying to gain advantages on the peripherals. Like, they have their core is set. So to them, how can we improve this team? They're constantly looking to improve the team. Well, it's late inning defensive replacement, a pinch runner, a guy that can burn on the bases. Like, that's the only thing that's maybe left for them, and I think Hyeseong represents that.
So it's interesting, and by the way, it is Haesong because I
It's
butchered
Hyeseong,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, I butchered it earlier. I apologize. Um, I don't know, man. I don't know if Lux is out the door, but somebody has got to go before the season. I just think when you have that many guys with starting experience, it's going to be really hard to keep guys ready to go and just say, hey, you know what? You're a late inning defensive replacement guy. I don't see that. And also, to me, I think the least talked about story of the offseason is the fact that Mookie Betts is moving back to shortstop.
Yeah.
Did,
Well, who
did
who on their team is, like, on the bench right now is used to playing every single day? There's not really anybody there that's like, I need to play every day. Like, these guys are used to their role by now.
Yes, I would agree with that, but I suppose the question, like a guy like Miguel Rojas will be fine if he plays twice a week and comes in as a defensive replacement. But when he comes in as a defensive replacement, what are you doing with Mookie Betts?
God, that's a good question.
Right. So I think that's the least talked about story that we have had in the offseason. We just accepted because Mookie is such a phenomenal player and athlete. Hey, let's just put him back there. Did we not remember what happened the first few months? He was not a good defensive shortstop. Out of the list I just gave you of guys, how many better shortstops do you think there are on the Dodgers roster than Mookie Betts?
There's at least one.
At least one.
But I think they'll take the hit defensively because now we can put Teoscar and Michael Conforto in our outfield.
I guess.
Dude, I am not hating on this. Austin Barnes, backup catcher. Miguel Rojas, a guy that's used to coming off the bench or playing sporadically. I think that Chris Taylor, same thing. Like, he's a guy that, has some days off, plays, whatever. I think Hyeseong might be the one that struggles the most with his new role. Mm-hmm. And maybe initially they'll have to find ways to get him in the game every day until he gets acclimated. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting how they do it, but that's what they're thinking is, where can we improve the team? And there's only so many spots they can improve this team now.
Right, absolutely. And I think they should make a trade. I understand if they don't. And the way I phrased the question sounds ridiculous. Like, do they have too many good players? And what I meant by that is starting caliber players. So, yeah.
Well, okay, so say they trade Lux.
Uh-huh.
Who starts at second base? Is it Hyeseong? Is it Mookie Betts and Miggy starts at short?
See, that's what I would do. That's what I would do if I were the Dodgers. Miguel Rojas had a great year last year offensively. Now, does he tire a little bit because now he's on the wrong side of 35, I believe? Like, he'll be the first one to tell you he's not an everyday shortstop. But this is, I think, a perfect team for him, and they need a guy like this to be around.
I don't want to just keep this on the Dodgers, but I asked this question. Quick answer for me, please. I asked this question to Jake Storiale.
Mm-hmm.
Dodgers 2025 roster, best roster since? I said the 09 Yankees?
Yeah, that was a very...
Name a better roster.
No, you're going to have a hard time doing it.
Is it one of the best rosters of all time? Is that freaking crazy of me to say? There's MVPs galore in it. So, the accolades are there. So the All-Star games are there.
Here's where I would say
the Cy Youngs are there.
They don't have the closer that has put up the numbers in a career. Blake Trinan is the closest thing to a dominant closer they've had, but this is a guy who's just at a different.
You don't think Kopech could turn into a dominant closer?
I think he certainly can, but I wouldn't say that he is at this point. But other than that, man, it's loaded. That's a fun question. Let's rank the best teams of the last 25 years. We'll have time to do all that. All right. MLB.com's Keegan Matheson. He says that the Jays have made an offer to free agent outfielder Anthony Santander. Toronto, of course, has whiffed on a ton of free agents, whether it's this year or in recent years. Does a long-term deal with Santander make sense for one of the more puzzling teams in the sport?
Oh, man. I don't think a long-term deal makes sense. I like him on the team, and that's only if they keep Vladdy and Bo throughout the year. If you bring him in, let's just say this is very hypothetical. He signs a 1-year deal with the Blue Jays. I would love that. That makes a ton of sense. But I don't think they're keeping either of those guys. So all of a sudden, this long-term deal turns into what? I would love it for this year, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that can't happen. Didn't he?
It's not. I said hypothetical.
Offer? Yes, but they can't.
Hypothetical. Yeah, I know they can't.
Okay.
Listen, I don't like it long term. I like it for this year. They need to add some other offensive player to go along with those guys. Go look at that lineup right now. Looks very strange. Doesn't look like it's a lineup that's going to compete in the AL East or the AL. It just really doesn't. And then you have the problem with, what are you going to do with your two stars? So bringing in Anthony Santander on a 4-year deal, again, I would like it for this year. I think it works for this year as long as they keep those two guys and him. But if they don't, then it doesn't make much sense to me.
They're fucked.
I guess that's what I was trying to say.
They are up the creek right now. They were dead last in the AL East, and I had been on the Blue Jay bandwagon. The previous 2 years, I think I picked them to make the World Series. In 2023, I think I said they were going to lose to the Padres, maybe beat the Padres even. And then in 2024, I said they were going to lose to the Braves in a 1992 World Series rematch. Well, damn. I'm going to stop making predictions with the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah, Alek Manoah is going to win the Cy Young. And then they're going to make the World Series. They made the opposite of the World Series. Whatever that is, they made it. No. Stay away from Anthony Santander. Blow this shit up. Go trade Vladdy. have Bo reestablish his value, trade him by June or July, trade Bassett. We'll trade Gossman.
You're blowing it up.
I'm blowing this shit up. This ain't working. It's not right.
You can't tank anymore. That's the problem, Chris.
We're not tanking. We're just going to reformulate on the run.
They have good players to trade. That's the curious thing.
That's the best thing they could do, because they do have guys that every team would want for a variety of reasons.
Usually when you say these guys got great players to trade, like, oh, it's a good team. Like, they're just not that good of a team.
They're not. And I don't know why. I don't know why it hasn't worked out. No way. They've got too many holes. The bullpen needs revamping. They brought back Yimi Garcia on a 2-year deal. Okay, that's nice. They still have plenty of holes there. You look at the pitching staff. Have they replaced Kikuchi yet? I don't think so. They traded for Andres Jimenez. Okay, that might be a long-term play to move him back to short once Bo Bichette moves somewhere else. But
that's a crazy trade for them. Once you pointed out the contract and what he's going to start making, that's a crazy trade for them.
Yeah, none of it made sense to me. So I don't know what Mark Shapiro is doing up there overall. But here, I'm going to give you a little help.
Okay.
Blow the shit up.
Blow it up. They got this brand new, beautiful park. Not brand new, but a revamped park.
So what? People you live in L.A. People get facelifts and other lifts all the time. Who cares? It's still what's in the inside that counts. And you know what? Toronto needs to have a heart-to-heart with itself. It ain't working. It is not working.
I agree. Do you have a skincare routine?
Yes, I shower at least 3 times a week.
That's it, huh?
It's remarkable. I will say this. Listen, people make fun of me. Rose, you've aged. You've gotten old. No shit. Wow, I don't look the same as when I was 29 starting on the Best Damn Sports Show, period. News to me. Can't believe it. But I have been blessed with good skin.
You got good skin.
I got very, very fortunate. And so Michelle reminds me of that all the time. She's like, you got such good skin. You don't do anything but wash your face a couple times a week. All right, let's move on to this. I saw this on social media the day. About fell out my chair. The Miami Marlins have spent $0 in free agency. How embarrassing is that?
It's embarrassing, but I think they're where you want the Blue Jays to be. Like
Shitsville?
They've blown it up. Probably could blow it up a little bit more. Doesn't really surprise me. And the second half of this question is a better question. I'm not like, it's embarrassing. I think the Florida teams should be like the talk of baseball. Like, it's a hotbed in the amateur side. There's no state tax, no state income tax. Like, this should be Florida should be a place where every baseball player wants to go play. And it's not. And I don't know what's going on, if that's just ownership, both ownerships here. Whatever it is, like, dude, like, Miami is awesome. It's awesome. And people do love baseball there. So I just don't understand Florida and Major League Baseball. I just don't get it at all. It doesn't. Second half of your question, if you want to go.
Yeah, we'll do it. Although, real quickly, do you think Sandy gets traded this year?
I hope so.
I hope so, too. I can't watch him pitch every 5 days an empty ballpark with no desire. The other question is, who are you surprised has not stepped on the accelerator this offseason?
The entire AL Central. I'm sorry. Have the Twins spent any money in free agency this year? I don't think they have either.
I don't think so either. So
what are we doing talking about the Marlins? The Twins should be a playoff team, and they haven't done anything. The Kansas City Royals were a playoff team, and the only thing they've done is add Jonathan India via trade. Like, they should be stepping on the gas. The Detroit Tigers made the playoffs. Like, they should be stepping on the gas, and none of these teams are doing earmuffs. Jack shit. They're not doing, like, what is going on with the AL Central? I am your champion. Look at this.
Whoa.
I am your champion.
Oh.
I love the AL Central.
Oh.
Beautiful place. Beautiful place to play. I love Kansas City. I even love Detroit. Minnesota's great. What are we doing, people?
Cleveland's good, too.
Has Cleveland done anything in free agency?
Brought back Shane Bieber.
I don't think that counts.
And Hedgie.
I don't think that counts.
It does count.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That's my answer. The entire AL Central. What is you doing, baby?
Okay, that's good. You got the Central part right.
Okay.
Calling on the Cincinnati Reds. Please do something now. How in the world were they able to coax Terry Francona out of retirement and not do anything to this point? Really? I mean, they traded for Brady Singer. That'll be helpful. But they lost an on-base guy, and I thought a real good locker room presence that would have been perfect for Terry Francona. He always finds a couple of guys in a clubhouse, and I've said this before. It doesn't mean that he can't find somebody else, but India was like the perfect guy to be the voice of Terry Francona from the players' side of things, because Francona loves it when it's the guys who own the clubhouse and not him as the manager. It is his perfect thing. He did it successfully in Boston. He did it successfully in Cleveland. And I just hope they give him the chance to do it successfully in Cincinnati. They had a team that we thought was good. And I get it that people are going to say, well, we got a full season of Matt McClain, and Encarnacio Strand will be back, and Fraley will have good health and all. And that might be true. It might be. But I think that is a real thin needle to thread. I would like to see them make a couple of moves, go out and get like Nick Martinez coming back. It's nice. They've got some depth now in the Cincinnati rotation. As long as most of those dudes stay healthy, that could be fun to watch. But I think there's opportunity to strike in this division. You brought in Terry Francona. Go get somebody else. Fix that lineup a little bit more.
I agree. I mean, I just don't know. They had to trade India. Where was he going to play? Were they going to put him in the outfield? Like, they got guys. They got Candelario. They got McClain. They got Ellie. Like, he was slated for a different role. I don't mind them. I don't mind the trade there. And I agree with you on the clubhouse presence. I think Tito will take care of that. I'm still looking at this team and thinking, yeah, this should be one of the better teams in the NL Central. But to your point, all it would take for them to be like almost a favorite in the NL Central is like one move.
Well, maybe they have to trade. Maybe they've got good players, but for a variety of reasons haven't nailed it yet. Maybe they just need to trade for more dependable guys.
I think I take that back what I just said.
What's that?
I think the Cubs are underrated.
Mm-hmm.
I think last year left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and Kyle Tucker and the rest of that lineup is going to do fine this year. I'm kind of high on the Cubs right now. Milwaukee's always an enigma to me. Like, they're probably just going to figure it out. They're the new Rays, the National League Rays.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking right now, and I'm like, dude, there are some guys here. We talked about Ellie De La Cruz possibly having an MVP year. He's that type of player. Matt McClain could be that new clubhouse leader. Him and Ellie together. American dudes, Latin dudes, love that. I don't know what to think about this Reds team.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I have to reevaluate my stance on them. I could be swayed on this one, but I just feel like when you bring a guy, a future Hall of Famer, out, I don't know what they promised him. I'm not privy to that information. Maybe they told him, hey, listen, Tito, you did the way you did it in Cleveland's kind of the way you're doing it here. Who's here is here, and don't put together a holiday wish list. Maybe that's that.
Yeah, maybe. Worked out for him in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, did a remarkable job. All right. I guess that'll do it for now. I'm excited. A few minutes, I'm going to be interviewing Nick Castellanos. It's been a few years since I've caught up with him. He's always fascinating because his post-game interviews are either 2 words or he'll give you some incredible stuff when he's around the locker. Like, go type this in on YouTube. Castellanos and Harper speak after the Phillies were eliminated. Castellanos was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So he's really interesting. And he's had a fascinating offseason with travels.
Every time I say hi, I haven't talked to him in a while.
How close are you guys?
Just mention it. We used to play against each other all the time.
Oh, yeah.
The 2 AL Central third baseman. Yeah.
What do you think his reaction will be if I say, hey, by the way, Plouffe says hi? Think
he'll say, okay. Oh, I love that guy. Say what's up back.
Really?
Yeah.
One of the funnier things we had with Castellanos, this is when he was young and bouncy instead of kind of the grizzled vet he's turned into. Well, so he and Lindor, I guess, used to play against each other in the state of Florida growing up. And so I think Castellanos was doing an interview for Intentional Talk at one of the cameras that we had on the third base side, and it's next to the then Indians dugout, and Lindor came by, and he goes, man, look at this guy. He's like, he used to have shitty teeth when we were growing up, but now look at them. They call him Mr. Smile and all. He can't stop showing off his great teeth. It was like fun, young, lovable Castellanos. Yeah. Going to get him back to that. I'm looking
Wait, now he's got the Philly grit.
He does have the Philly grit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Father.
Pretty boy Philly.
There might be a hair competition in that clubhouse, right? Between Bohm, Harper, Marsh, Castellanos.
Mike Trout doesn't have hair, but when he gets there, maybe he'll grow it out.
What are you saying? What are you saying? Come on. Do you know something that we don't?
No, I'm just kidding.
Don't do that.
I want it to happen so bad.
Don't do that. All right, we're back at it later in the week. We cannot wait. Hopefully we'll have some news for you. Let's go. GMs, we hit the lull. We went through a couple weeks where there was shit happening like every few hours. That was good. That was fun. Now we pushed through. You've got your New Year plans out of the way. Let's get back to work. Let's start the grind. Still plenty of good free agents out there. Trades to be made. I just made one for San Diego and Baltimore. The thing's done. We could have that wrapped up in 17 minutes. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you later this week on Baseball Today.